Our next hands-on is exercise number 3, and this is our rolling average, okay? In this hands-on, we're going to talk about rolling average, and we're going to show you how to set up a 1-hour rolling average as an example. First off, rolling average, let's talk about how it works. The channel, the GX with math, has a scan rate of 1 second. That's the default, so we'll just leave that there. Channel number 1 is like a thermocouple input, and then something like math is equal to 01, and then you set up a number of samples, and then based on those number of samples, it's timed the number of samples, and then when the math starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, we basically do a calculation. As you can see, what it does is it rolls in the samples and divides by the number of samples. And then later on, once we get into the, in this case, the example is 1,200 samples. Once we get to 1201, you'll notice that S1 is removed or rolled out of that, and S1201 sample comes in there and still multiplied by the 1,200. So this is a rolling average, or sometimes people call this a boxcar type average. So how does that differ from the T-log average that you spoke about earlier? In a rolling average, you roll in the new numbers, okay, and the oldest scan is buffered out or FIFO'd. With a T-log average, what happens is if you don't reset the T-log, it will basically just keep averaging all the numbers. So essentially, this would be, you know, it could be 3,600, it could be, you know, a million numbers all added together and divided by the number of scans, 1,000,000, to give the average. Or with the T-log average, you can reset that like daily and do a reset. But just remember, when you reset it, then the new total is the value that you see divided by 1 when you do that reset. Whereas with a rolling average, once the buffer gets filled, then when it rolls over, the new value is then buffered in with the other 1,199 samples. Okay, so that's the difference between a rolling average and a T-log average. So here is what we do for the rolling average. First off, from our example before, our math is already running, so our icon is blue, so we need to go stop that, because remember, if we don't, any changes we make, we'll have to start all over again. It won't take it. So here's our total, by the way, from earlier. It got to 6,283.3 gallons so far. So we're going to choose our setting, or we're going to choose browse and then our setting icon. Then we're going to select our math channel and then calculation expression like before. We're going to select our first math channel because we're going to change this to math channel A02. And then we're going to select this as being on. Okay. Then our calculation expression, they're all always defaultly 001 if nothing's been put in there. So we're going to select the expression. Then we're going to backspace and the delete key. In this case, we can just do the backspace. We just want to change this to 0002 for channel number 2. And in this case, our channel number 2 has previously already been set up as a thermocouple type input with a thermocouple on it. We're going to change our decimal place from 2 to 1. This is matching our thermocouple on our input channel number 2 that's already been set up. And we're going to select the unit. And for the unit here, we're going to select the symbol, and we are going to put in the degree symbol and then F. And so we're going to make this degrees F. Of course, if your input channel number 2 is programmed as degree C, you'd make this C instead, degree C. And then enter here. Then we're going to turn our rolling average on. So we're going to select the off, turn it on, and then we need to select the interval. Okay, and defaultly it's 10 seconds and 1 as the number of samples. So we're going to change our interval to 3 seconds. And this is the sampling period or the update rate of how quickly the rolling average is going to be updated. This means every third scan, we're going to basically look at our temperature and then use that to put into the rolling average and average with the other 3-second samples. Okay, the maximum number of samples you can put in here is 1,500. So in this case, if we wanted to do a 1 hour average, we couldn't select 1 second because we can't choose 3,600 as our number of samples. So we're going to choose a function of that. So we're going to do 3 seconds, and then we're going to do 1,200 for the number of samples. That will give us a 1 hour rolling average. That will basically be an interval of 3-second updates with 1,200 of those all tied or averaged together. That will give us a 1 hour rolling average. So here we're going to select and enter 1,200 for our number of samples. And then we're going to back out of here. Once we do a save, we're going to do a save, and then we're going to back out of the match channels. Then we're going to go to our display settings like before, and we're going to set up a tag for this match channel, A002. And for this, we'll put a tag. Let's just put hourly average temperature in here, and then save that. Then we need to go add it to a group, so we're going to select our display settings and group settings. Remember, we've got group number 1, which is flow. So we're going to select a new group here, group number 2, and we're going to select the group name, and we're going to call this temps. And then we're going to select our channel set. And again, like before, we're going to go select or deselect any of the channels we don't want in here. So here we're going to have channel 002 and then match channel A002 as the only 2 channels in here. And then select enter there, and then there is our group 2, which is temps, and we've got 2 of 20 channels that we can put in there. We're going to select the save, and then when we do that, we come back to the settings screen, and you'll notice that our flows come up, and if you select the right arrow key there, you can select, and our temp screen will come up. And then here on our temp screen, we need to start our math again. So let's select start, and then you'll see that once we do that, we have a new screen that pops up under the digitals. This is the group we built. It's called temps, and it's got room temperature, and it's got our hourly average temperature in it are now displayed. So that was the conclusion of there. Let's move on to our hands-on exercise number 4. And in this, we're going to talk about holding a rolling average. We're going to take channel number 3, which has already been set up as a digital input to hold the rolling average in this example. So we're going to be working with our hands-on exercise number 3 from before where we set up the rolling average. We're just going to add a little twist to it. Okay, so over here, we're going to select our menu key, and we need to go stop our computation from before so that we can make our changes. And then you can see the math is not running, and you can see the temperatures from before, our room temperature, and then our hourly average temperature so far. We're going to select our setting tab here again, browse and settings. We're going to select our input channel, and we're going to select channel number 3. We're going to select save. Sorry, we're going to select number 3, and then we're going to select that as a digital input, which has already been done. And then we're going to save that. Then we're going to select our display settings, and we're going to select our group settings. We're going to go to group number 2, which is our temps value. And we are going to add channel number 3 to the mix of this and then save that. So now we're going to add our digital input to that group. Then what we need to do is go to our math settings. We're going to select calculation expression here. We're going to go select A002. This is our rolling average channel from before, where our calculation expression is just 002 right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to backspace, use your left arrow key, and we're going to move in front of our 002 because we're going to input some formula in front of that. So what we're going to do is once we're to the left of that, we're going to select the hold open statement. And then what we need to do is with the keypad and the arrow keys and the 1-2 key is to enter this statement here that you see, hold open parentheses 0003 dot equal to K01 close parentheses colon A002. What this means is if channel number 3 is equal to a 1, we are going to basically freeze or hold our calculation of the math channel, okay? So here we're going to basically double check that our formula is correct in the calculation expression, do a save, and then we need to go to the math channel and actually do a constant. And just remember, you need to save in each one of these because if you don't save this, then your formula that you put in there won't be there. If you back out, it'll ask you if you're going to cancel a setting. So make sure once you've already got that you always select save here. Otherwise, you'll be deleting some of the work and having to backtrack. So now we're going to select our constant under math, and we're going to bring that up, and our constant, we're going to select K01, and defaultly all the constants have a 0 in there. We're going to change that to 1 and then select enter, and then you're going to see K01 on the page bottom right hand corner says K01 equals 1. So we're going to select the save there to save the changes. Now we're going to go out and start our computation for the math. And then here's an example of our channel number, of our temps group. We've got our room temperature, which was channel number 2. We've got our DI input, which is channel number 3. And we've got our hourly average. Okay, and what you're going to see here is we're running and our digital input is set to 1. So our average is basically 0 right now. We're ignoring what's going on. So the rolling average is not running in this case. Okay, it hasn't started. Then when that digital input changes to a 0, the hourly average will start running. This is a nice feature for doing some opacities or pH or flows or items where if the valve's not open, you know, if you're flowing to the city or some tank or something like that, you don't want this to be calculated or some other item like that, you can set this up so that it only does your average when it's running. So that's an example of using the rolling average and using the hold feature.